In the exclusive and luxurious neighborhood of Silverwood Ridge, Max Lawson becomes the most infamous and most powerful resident after receiving a $600 fine for fishing with his daughter Emily on the community's lake. Max, a former corporate lawyer who recently moved to the area to find peace after the death of his wife, soon uncovers that Lydia Mitchell, the manipulative and ruthless HOA president, has been using her position for years to exploit the community and secretly plot to turn the lakeside area into a high-end real estate development. Max, a man of intellect and business acumen, is not one to remain a passive victim. What begins as a small fine escalates into a battle for justice, and Max works tirelessly to expose Lydia's schemes, dismantle her empire, and reclaim the lake for the community. 2 months ago, Max Lawson was living what many would consider the ideal life. A successful corporate lawyer turned entrepreneur, Max had built a career in the high-stakes world of law and business. He had amassed enough wealth to retire early, choosing instead to focus on raising his daughter, Emily, following the tragic death of his wife, Claire, from cancer. In search of healing and a fresh start, Max and Emily moved to Silverwood Ridge, an upscale, tranquil community surrounded by rolling hills and a pristine lake at its heart. The neighborhood, on paper, seemed perfect, peaceful, serene, and close-knit. It promised a place to heal. However, the idyllic surroundings masked a dark and sinister undercurrent. Lydia Mitchell, the president of the HOA, held an iron grip over the residents, using her position not for the benefit of the community but to enrich herself. It was on a calm Sunday morning when Max and Emily decided to go fishing on the lake, a bonding activity that helped them both cope with the lingering sadness of their recent loss. As they stood together on the dock, their quiet moment of peace was interrupted by none other than Lydia, who approached them with an air of authority and disdain. "Do you have a permit for that?" Lydia demanded, her gaze cold as she stared down at them. Max, taken aback by her rude tone, explained they were just enjoying a peaceful morning. Lydia, with an insincere smile, informed him that fishing was now strictly prohibited, citing a new HOA regulation that had just gone into effect. Without hesitation, she slapped Max with a hefty $600 fine, explaining that the community had been notified through an email, a message Max hadn't seen. When he pushed back, she coldly told him that they had sent it, insinuating his negligence for not checking his inbox thoroughly. As Max pondered the situation, Lydia added something that piqued his curiosity. "The HOA is planning to develop this entire lakefront area into luxury homes. We're making it an exclusive, private space for the elite residents." At that moment, Max realized there was far more to this situation than just a fishing fine. Determined to get to the bottom of Lydia's motives, Max began digging into her background. What he uncovered was both shocking and infuriating. Lydia, under the guise of being a community advocate, had been acquiring properties around the lake for years, using her influence as HOA president to push residents into selling at below-market prices. She had plans to develop high-end condominiums along the water's edge and turn the entire lakeside area into an exclusive, gated community that would cater to the wealthiest buyers. But that wasn't all. Max discovered that the lake, the very heart of the community, wasn't even owned by the HOA. It belonged to Hillstone Properties, a major real estate developer. The HOA had merely leased it from Hillstone for the last 20 years, and that lease was set to expire in just a few months. Lydia's plan was to secure the land for herself, pushing the HOA into buying it under her terms. She had already arranged for a special assessment to raise money for the purchase, effectively squeezing out any residents who didn't fall in line. Max, a sharp former corporate lawyer, knew this was no ordinary real estate deal. Lydia had orchestrated an elaborate scheme to corner the market, forcing homeowners into financial distress by using her control of the HOA. But the lake was the key. If he could take control of it, he could block Lydia's plans. The challenge was finding a way to do it before Lydia could finalize the deal. Max wasn't alone in his fight. He found an ally in Richard Foster, a retired attorney who had lived in the community for years and had his own run-ins with Lydia's overreaching authority. Richard provided Max with valuable legal insight, showing him how Lydia had circumvented regulations and manipulated the HOA's power to benefit her own interests. Max also enlisted Nina Wells, a local banker who had noticed financial irregularities in the HOA's dealings, and together, they formed an underground coalition of residents who had suffered under Lydia's reign. They quietly gathered evidence, building a case that would expose Lydia's manipulations and stop her from getting away with it. As Max's investigation deepened, he learned that the lake's lease was due to expire in just a few months, and Lydia was doing everything in her power to ensure that Hillstone Properties would sell it directly to her for a fraction of its value. This gave Max a clear opening. If he could purchase the lake first, he could foil her plans and turn the tables. Using his business acumen and financial resources, Max made an audacious offer to Hillstone Properties, $650,000 in all cash for the lake. The developers, desperate for the liquidity, couldn't refuse. When Lydia was preparing to announce her special assessment and proceed with her plans for the lakefront development, Max beat her to the punch. At a public HOA meeting, where Lydia was about to unveil her proposal for the lake, Max walked in with the deed to the lake in hand and announced, "This lake is now mine. Your HOA agreement with Hillstone expires in less than 30 days, and effective immediately, I'm terminating it." The room went silent. Lydia's face drained of color as she realized the ground had shifted beneath her feet. Her empire of manipulation and greed was collapsing, and she had no control over the very asset she had been eyeing for years. But Max wasn't just interested in reclaiming the lake. He wanted to take down Lydia's entire power structure. With the lake now under his control, Max proposed a new governance structure for the HOA, one focused on transparency, accountability, and the involvement of all residents. Lydia's tyrannical reign was over. The more the community learned about her secret dealings, the more they turned their backs on her. Max's campaign of exposing Lydia's corruption gained momentum, and he quickly became a hero in the eyes of the community. In a dramatic twist, Max revealed that he had been quietly purchasing the mortgage notes of several properties in Silverwood Ridge, particularly those belonging to Lydia and her closest allies. This gave him unprecedented leverage. With the community already rebelling against her, Lydia tried to fight back by bribing Max and threatening him, but it was clear she was losing. The once strong power structure Lydia had built crumbled. In a final act of desperation, Lydia threw a massive neighborhood party, hoping to rally support for her lakefront development project. But Max had already filed the necessary paperwork to terminate her control of the lake. At the party, Max made a grand entrance, holding up the deed to the lake in front of the guests. "You're all trespassing," he said. "This is my property now." The crowd was stunned. Lydia's plans lay in ruins. In the aftermath, Max didn't just reclaim the lake, he restored it for the benefit of the entire community. He established a community trust to manage the lake, launched environmental preservation programs, and even initiated educational initiatives for children to learn about sustainability and wildlife. What was once a source of division became a symbol of unity. The final blow to Lydia came when Max revealed he had purchased Lydia's home through her outstanding mortgage obligations. With Lydia's financial empire in shambles, she was forced to sell her properties at a significant loss. Her reputation, once pristine, was now destroyed. As the HOA leadership was overhauled, Max introduced a new era of fairness, equality, and transparency. Silverwood Ridge flourished under Max's leadership, and the lake was renamed Harmony Lake in honor of the peace it now symbolized. Emily, who had struggled with the loss of her mother, found happiness in watching her father not only fight for justice but also rebuild their community. Together, Max and Emily had turned tragedy into triumph, making Silverwood Ridge a model for other neighborhoods across the country. Months later, Max received offers to run for mayor. But instead of accepting the political path, he chose to continue his work in the community, setting up a scholarship fund for children who had lost parents to cancer in honor of Claire. Max's story was a testament to the power of patience, strategic thinking, and community. It showed that even in the face of a powerful bully, sometimes the best move is to play the long game, and when you fight for what's right, the entire community will rally behind you. The takeaway? In the battle against corruption, the ultimate weapon is not brute force, but knowledge, patience, and the courage to stand up for justice. Because when you do, the community will stand with you.